Okay, so let's start. I'm sharing my screen. So, welcome everybody to the webinar of today, From Sea to Cyberspace. So basically, it's a joint workshop between two EU projects. Sorry, I'm admitting also people. Between two European projects. One is related to SMAUG. It's called the European Project for Port Security and Detection, and the other is PQ-REACT, which is related to cryptography, post-quantum cryptography, and we find a very interesting topic to collaborate. Initially, you might think that one is related to port security and the other more, let's say, to online AI, digital in general applications. But we found a common, let's say, ground between projects that it's very interesting. And for example, in SMAUG we have AI, we have a lot of digital platforms and so on, and a lot of transfer of data. And as we are speaking about port security, it's really important to have let's say security measures, and that's why the PQ-REACT with cryptography, it's really working, let's say, nicely. So two people I will introduce. First is Juanro from Indra, who is responsible, coordinator, and leading the project SMAUG, and Akis, who is the leader of the, let's say, PQ-REACT. You can present yourselves, and the floor is yours. So the agenda, as you see here, you can share also later on, let's say, your screen. But first of all, we're moving with introduction and overview of the two projects. The floor is yours.
So I will start, Akis, then I will present myself, and then I will introduce SMAUG, and if you, then you can introduce yourself and present PQ-REACT, and then I will present a short presentation regarding, as Anthony said, common point regarding the protection of critical infrastructure, which is a common element in both projects. Okay, and then we can have a final discussion between everybody invited here. Okay, so that for those of you that didn't know me, because I'm involved in both projects, SMAUG and PQ-REACT, I am Juan Román Martínez Arranz. I am R&D strategy manager for artificial intelligence and quantum technologies in Indra, in the Chief Technology Office of Indra. And it's a pleasure to be here with you today. So as far as I've seen in the attendance, I will say Kalispera, Bon Pomerillo, Bonsoir, Bon après-midi, Buenas tardes, Buenos días, good afternoon. Sorry if I forgot someone. Okay, so that, as I told you, I will start presenting an introduction of a SMAUG project. Okay, let me try to share my screen. 1 second, and I will try to put it on presentation mode. All right, so that it means that I will not able to see if you raise your hand or something. So please, Akis or Antonis, if you say someone that want to say something, please let me know and interrupt me. Okay, if I
absolutely. Okay? Yeah, don't worry. I will okay. I will look at the list.
Ευχαριστώ. Όλα τέλεια. So I guess you can see my screen.
Yes, perfect, full screen.
Okay, so as you can see, this is the ευχαριστώ. This is the topic. I'm moving the screen of the people attending because it's covering part of the slide. 1 second. Okay. Thank you. So as you can see, this is how we are going to combine the part of the security European Union critical infrastructure in the quantum area, sharing with you two different projects. The idea is everybody, maybe you know something about SMAUG of artificial intelligence, maybe you know something about post-quantum cryptography and PQ-REACT, but I guess that very few people will an expert on both areas. I'm not an expert in any of them, but I have some knowledge in both of them because I'm involved in both projects. The idea is to present you a SMAUG to understand the context of the project, and then Akis, which is the coordinator, will present the PQ-REACT project, okay? So SMAUG, as you can imagine, is an Horizon Europe Cluster 3 project inside the border management area. The focus of this project is to improve the security in the maritime borders and underwater domain of the European Union. Since we are here in the border domain, it means that we are going to detect threats in the water domain close to the coast. What it means, we are considering up to 25 meters of depth, something like that. So, for instance, one of the SMAUG project is not focused, for instance, in avoid someone breaking underwater cables in the middle of the ocean and up to 5,000 meters under the sea level, okay? So, the three main elements that we are going to face in SMAUG, which is a project that started almost 3 years ago, it will end in October this year, is to improve the port security infrastructure, to improve the underwater detection of threats, and improve the surveillance vessels that are going to help in the security in the maritime borders of the European Union. Okay, so regarding the one of the key elements, which is the underwater detection, we are going to consider 4 different technologies. One is the acoustic detection of possible threats using hydrophones. The second one is the rapid sonar hull scan, try to check if there is something attached to the hull of a vessel. We are going to check as well when it's not possible because there is low visibility to use a high resolution sonar inspection to check the seabed of the maritime critical infrastructure or in the coast to detect possible threats. And we are going to improve using artificial intelligence the way that we can collaborate in the swarms of autonomous underwater vehicles because right now it's something that is not very well developed, and we want to improve that. All right. So other main goal is the use of artificial intelligence in this project. The idea here, in a nutshell, is to detect possible threats, combining different information coming from different data sources that I will comment you later on, okay? Because sometimes we have information that isolated means nothing, but when you combine this information, you can discover possible threats. I will put you a very simple example. Suppose that, for instance, in my company, in Indra, in the travel part of our web portal of the company, it says that today I am in Brussels. By the way, at the same time, in the access to the premises of Indra, it is detected that I am entering to one of our premises in Madrid. In a separate way that I am entering Madrid premises or I am in Brussels means nothing. But combining this information, since I'm not God, we will discover that something wrong is happening. This is the idea behind this combination of different data sources, okay? To combining information, detect possible threat that otherwise will be lost, okay? The project, as you can see here, is divided in these 5 different building blocks. One of them is focused in the critical maritime infrastructure protection, mainly ports. Here we are going to use information coming from the port community system and cargo community systems. We're going to use satellite information coming from Copernicus and GNSS, which is the typical GPS signal and so on. And the ICE, for those of you that are not expert in this technology, ICE is like some kind of GPS that all the boats should have, okay, and all vessels all around the world. Regarding the underwater detection, as we commented before, we are going to use acoustic, sonar, and collective swarm, and also sometimes in the vessel, they are going to have the collaboration of some kind of aerial surveillance with some drones specifically in the ports, okay? We are going to combine this information, as I told you before, in different C2, command and control systems, in the maritime and underwater domain, to detect in different areas, different threats, and at the end of the day, all this information will be merged in a common central command portal to check possible threats coming from different domains, all right? At the end of the day, it's important as well to comment you that we are going to have a THISE node integration. The THISE node is a common information security exchange that is a node of information developed by the European Union. In this node, different coastal border guards of the European Union are sharing different information between themselves in order to improve the security. And SMAUG is prepared to have access to this. I mean, it's prepared to do that. We are not going to have access to this node on real time to the use cases execution because it's critical. At the end of the day, it's your restricted information. So if you know something about security information, we cannot access that. Okay, and also we are going to get how can improve all the vessel screening capabilities to be improved in the maritime domain, because we are going to create by artificial intelligence best way to improve the routes and the way we are combining the information. I will say more of you regarding our artificial intelligence algorithm later on. Okay. To check this in the project, we are going to have 3 different use cases. We have already conducted one of them in Greece between 2 ports, Elefsina and Heraklion. Manos Servas from Elefsina is here, so I've got for your help there, Manos. Regardless the use case we are going to do, okay, all you need to be reminded 4 points. The next one, the 4 point is in the next slide. Okay, we have in common in all use cases. In all of them, we are going to check information coming from different data sources. We need to combine information from different data sources. Okay. The second one, in all of them, we are going to improve the vessel screening capabilities. We are going to check these improvements in the use cases. Very relevant is that in all use cases, we are going to have at least involved 1 coastal border guard. You don't know that, but during the proposal phase preparation of this proposal called SMAUG, it was mandatory in the topic that to have at least 3 coastal border guards. Okay, we have the Spanish Customs, we have the French Ministry of Interior, and we have the Hellenic Coastal Guards in the project. So that each of them will be there, but not only them. We are going to have at least 1 port authority in each use case. In the use case that we are conducted in Greece, we have 2, Elefsina and Heraklion, as I told you before. Elefsina outside Athens and Heraklion in the island of Crete. We are going to conduct this month in Norway, close to the Drammen port, the second use case at the end of this month. And in mid-June, we are going to execute the last use case in Valencia, in the port, with the Port Authority of Valencia. Okay. What are the common expected outcomes of all use cases? Regardless that they are going to have different expected use outcomes, because of each one is focused in different type of threats. All of them will try to help in these 4 points. Okay, helping in decision making. The idea is to provide possible actions to be taken by the operators of the C2 systems. In all of them, we're going to follow in MLOps methodology. MLOps is machine learning ops, which basically is how to combine the typical DevOps methodology with machine learning, which is one of the key techniques of the artificial intelligence. If you don't know what is DevOps, I don't have time in this presentation today to inform you, but it's continuing development mainly, and you can look for more information later on. Okay, we are going to improve the alert generation. We are working here in what is called the early warning. The idea is to detect the possible threat as soon as possible, because the earlier we get the possible threat detected, the better response and more time we have to check and face it. Okay, and of course, with all of them, we are going to improve and enhance the C2 command and control capabilities in the current existing command and control system for security in the different, for instance, ports, and in the systems that our coastal border guards have all around the European Union. The 3 use cases, as I told you before, the first one in this list that will take place next month is the Spanish use case that will take place in Valencia, in the Mediterranean Sea. And the idea here is how to improve the detection of possible explosives in order to avoid possible threats that make some kind of explosions and destruction in critical infrastructure, especially for the port areas. And from the point of view of the Spanish Customs, the problem here is how to improve the detection of narco submarines, which are small submarines coming from, sometimes in the case of Spain, North Africa or South America, with mainly drugs, cocaine, and so on, coming from Spain. Okay. In the Greek use case, we're going to avoid the illegal traffic of goods and smuggling, for instance, considering tobacco and so on, and detect possible threats in the ports as well. And in the Norwegian use case, when we were preparing this proposal, it took place the Nord Stream sabotage, so that we are going to improve avoiding this kind of problems in the Norwegian use case in Drammen in 3 weeks from now. As I told you before, this is the continuous development, continuous learning process we are going to follow. It's called machine learning ops methodology. We are going to have, as you can see here, I don't know if you can see my pointer, but we are going to get the information, we are labeling it, the verification, we test it, and then we check what are the results. And again, okay, coming information with the different type of underwater domains, the command and control system, the communication with the CISE node, and the different command and control system we are going to have in the project. Okay. So here you have a schematic, very simple process where we are going to see possible threats here an underwater domain, and then different type of assets we have prepared in order to help in the detection of these threats coming to the European Union borders. So that the system we are going to have is acoustic detection, rapid hull, for detection, suspicion, and concealed access to the ships, high sonar for high resolution sonar for detail inspections, aerial to improve the visual detection when needed, and the collaborative underwater swarm methodology to improve in the underwater domain. Once we have detected possible threat, we are going to use these swarms to check the viability of them. Okay, and now. But last but not least, because it's very important, the dissemination of the SMAUG project. We were in the third Congress last year in Brussels. I participated in the United Nations event in Mauritania because the Spanish government, Home Affairs Ministry has an agreement with Mauritania, and I was there helping them, okay, with Interpol and African Union Counter-Terrorism Organization and so on. We were in the European Union Ports Alliance Congress in Gdansk last year. We were in the most important defense fair in Spain in the 13th of May this year. It was presented in the info day of the Cluster 3 of the Spanish Ministry of Innovation. We were in SICUR, which is the security fair. And last but not least, last month we were in May. 2 months ago, in March, we were in Narva in Estonia. Narva is in the border between Estonia and Russia. We were there presenting in this event the SMAUG project as well. Here you have some photos. And last but not least, the consortium. As you can see here, we have people from different countries of the European Union, from Spain, France, Germany, Italy, Greece, Norway, and Estonia. Okay. And that's all from my side. You have, I don't know if there is any question, Akis or Andonis. We can move to the presentation from Akis.
Yeah, sure. There is no question. I see no people at the meeting and so on, so we can move forward. So
thank you, Evaristo. Gracias.
Welcome, Akis from Demokritos, as we said. He's the coordinator from PQ-REACT. And Aki, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you very much for the introduction. Thank you also, Juanro, for the presentation. You can see the correct screen, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Akis Kourtis. I am a researcher at from National Center of Scientific Research, Demokritos, Research Center, Public Research Center in Greece, and we are the coordinators, project coordinators of PQ-REACT. PQ-REACT is a post-quantum cryptography project which mainly has the objective to deal with the quantum threat to cryptography. So, what would that be? As you may have seen from different news sources, and right now, most recently, it has started to catch a lot of buzz. Quantum computers threaten to break the public key cryptography underpinning global digital infrastructure, which involves communications, e-commerce, cloud, critical infrastructures. So how and why has this emerged? The key threats mainly rely upon the source algorithm, which breaks the RSA and the ECC in polynomial time, the Grover's algorithm, which halves symmetric key insecurity, and one more key threat, which is the harvest now decrypt later attack, already underway, and in which, regarding this, we will also give quite a lot of interesting examples in relation to law enforcement agencies, but also critical infrastructure. And we will also present how PQ-REACT targets this from its tailored use cases that we have in the communication system, but also in the energy infrastructure. And last but not least is that quantum computing is projected to unlock a vast economic value as different economic and financial outlooks project. So the response, if we could say in a TLDR manner, would be that apart from the NIST, which is the US governed body on PQC standardization, added with the EU regulatory action, helps and is, we could say, the foundational aspect of PQ-REACT of the project to lead Europe's transition to a quantum-safe future. We are right now towards the end of our project, in the honestly in the last mile of our project. We are a quite diverse project with 7 EU countries and across with 12 partners, and our main mission is to design, develop, and validate the framework for a swift and secure transition from classical to post-quantum cryptography across critical digital infrastructures. So our main objectives mainly involved, we're going to use from, let's say, from the rest of our presentation, the past tense. Since we are already at the last of our project, we have more or less quite mature results of what we have built. And one of our key objectives were to identify first the cryptographic vulnerabilities in critical systems and define different migration roadmaps to enable cryptographic agility to run quantum-safe and classical algorithms side by side during transition, and validate NIST standardized PQC algorithms in real-world IoT, 5G, and distribution ledger transaction environments, blockchain related. And last but not least, to address the legal and regulatory dimensions of the quantum transition. So one of the first things and one of the key aspects that we did was to identify and analyze in detail how the secure key exchange, basically the MLK based on Crystal Skyberg, a new method for securing sharing encryption keys and certified by NIST, and to verify also the identity authenticity. So we both covered the secure key exchange methods, but also identity and authentication-based methods, mainly for ML DSA and SLH DSA, that prove who sent the message and that it was not tampered, which they are also NIST certified. And we also covered the HQC, which is an additional backup method under final review. Legislation-wise, we covered the available legislation and regulatory frameworks, mainly from the EU rules, how NIST covers that, how EIDAS also covers that, and how also the Cybersecurity Resilience Act is also translated across different frameworks, across different services. And we also covered in the different use cases, in the different tools and services that we developed, how the hybrid approach, meaning both existing algorithms, but also the newly proposed encryption schemes can work and function together. So how these were all translated, we had as a main driver of our implementation an overall architecture and workflow, which worked both ways, from top down, but also from bottom up, where we received from different stakeholders and third-party stakeholders different requirements, and these were all translated across a modular framework, given the context agility manager, the PQC migration framework, where we detailed the repository of the algorithms available, the risk assessment framework, the recommendation engine, and we also had a novel involvement of quantum computation infrastructure in order to validate in a simulation manner what different attacks we can use towards classical, but also post-quantum algorithms in relation to the current ecosystem today. So, hybrid encryption, which is, as we say right now, the most dynamic and current method of what systems are already been working on building. It's basically based on new quantum safe algorithms, which are not yet proven at a global scale, and they both run old and new encryption together. If one fails, the other one still protects you. In PQ-REACT, in more detail, we built and we developed a hybrid. We also built a hybrid digital signature, a QDS scheme that combines quantum key distribution with post-quantum algorithms. This can help sign documents as fast as today's standard methods while adding a second layer of defense against quantum attacks. This method was also tested in a QKD-enabled network deployed across a 65+ kilometer fiber optic network infrastructure, and it was tested across a 5,000 cycle stress test with no failures. Our main use cases, which I will not cover right now in detail, as we have more focused outcomes in relation to the critical infrastructure, but also law enforcement agencies, mainly involved energy grids, 5G networks, and blockchain-enabled network provision infrastructure. Our project also funded two rounds of open calls with great success and quite popular. From the first one had around 35 applications, and we allocated 5 winners, and the second one had around 57 applications and funded 4 consortia. The winners were mainly focused on smart grid framework signing, 5G quantum security transition, MLChem benchmarking, and also quite interesting lattice-based crypto system via the Eclipse QRISP, which same applied also for the open call, but in an upscaled manner, as it comprised of different consortia. And regarding the impact and outreach, our consortium, it is a multi-stakeholder one. It works directly with industry, government, and research communities, which includes critical infrastructure operators and policy makers, to prepare them for the quantum security transition. We have managed to publish peer-reviewed papers, conference talks, and we follow a fair, accessible, and open access strategy for our project. And regarding the standardization strategy that we have active contributions to HE, ISO, and IETF bodies that set rules for the telecoms and security infrastructure. So our main beneficiaries would be energy infrastructure operators, telecom providers, and in a second extent, financial institutions, policymakers, researchers, and cybersecurity businesses. So in order to, let's say, finalize an overall part of what we have achieved during our around 33-month journey in the post-quantum world, we have built a 3-layer security framework, which also involves quantum computation and taking it into regard. We have also been building migration tools, 3 production-ready pilots, which we will delve into more detail later on. And we have also created a hybrid digital signature that works as fast as today's methods while adding quantum protection, demonstrated real computing attacks, and modeled the threat level for new encryption standards using simulated quantum computing. We have proved quantum safe encryption runs with negligible overhead across different use cases, mainly regarding and measured in 5G, where we can achieve sub-millisecond signing in energy grids and blockchain. And we have also expanded the ecosystem through an open innovation call with new SME and research partners. We have also delivered a legal and regulatory risk framework to guide the encryption transition, and we have also contributed to 4 international standards. I would also like to mention how, during this journey along with SMAUG, how we have let's say, exchange different information, different outlook on our post-quantum journey. Mainly the partners that also involve some technical partners from PQ-REACT. They have shared their outlook and vision, and they have also taken into account how quantum safe encryption can secure SMAUG sensitive data and cross-border information sharing. How can this be applied, and how potentially maritime port security can become a fourth pilot domain, how the different exchange of data need also to be secured. And we have also followed the joint EU approach to protecting critical infrastructure. So in more detail, against both physical and cyber quantum threats. With this, I would like to thank you for your attention in this first introduction, and we can follow up on the next item on the agenda.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah.
Yes, I don't know if there is a question. If not, it's good the way that Akis ends, because right now what we are going to do, since Aki said Indra and me specifically, I am and Indra is in both projects, I would like to share with you some information about the possible synergy between two projects. We are going to comment about the cyber resiliency concept, the techniques of artificial intelligence that we are using in the SMAUG that can apply in the critical infrastructure protection as well. Okay, maybe we will do an introduction later on about the difference between IT, IoT, OT, and so on, to have everybody in the same page. Okay, and an introduction of critical infrastructures. And at the end of the day, just I would like to put an example of a possible attack that is combining cyber and physical domain. And in the energy sector, this attack quite old, because it took place 11 years ago in Ukraine. That's an example of possible problems that we can have if we are not combining the security and the cyber security in the critical infrastructure protections. Okay, so let me share with you my screen. 1 second. Again, I will put first in presentation mode, the presentation. Let me check. And now, sorry, here we are. I think, please let me know you can see my screen.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Okay, Evharisto. So first of all, I will introduce to everybody some concepts that can apply in both projects that are relevant. The idea is to have everybody in the same page. After this presentation, in the last slide, we can start to have some kind of discussion between everybody here, especially end users. I have seen people from a port and Coastal Border Guard at least. We can comment about what is their point of view regarding this. Okay. So the first concept I would like to share with everybody that is related with the two project is the cyber resiliency. Okay. All of this is focused in the critical infrastructure. What it means, okay? It means that if you look on the left-hand side of the slide and you see the 5, let's say, balls or circles or whatever, they come from the NIST framework regarding how to protect and cyber protect infrastructures, okay? It has 5 points, which is the protect, detect, reply, recover, and identify, protect, detect, reply, and recover. Most of you that you have relationship with cybersecurity domain, you will know that. What is here the key element? The cyber resilience is focusing the reply and recover. Why? Because regardless we identify our critical assets inside our critical infrastructure, we can protect them and detect them. It is very likely that someone with time and money enough finally will do a successful attack. So what are the focus here? The focus is in especially in the case of critical infrastructure, how to avoid that the attack stops the critical infrastructure working. It could be, for instance, a maritime port, or it could be an energy plant or whatever. Okay. So the idea is once we have this, we can look for, we need to prepare everything to be able to work once we have something wrong happen. Okay, in our critical infrastructure. One of the key elements we need to be in mind. Regarding of possible techniques of artificial intelligence that can be used for the critical infrastructure protection, in some domains, especially in security and as well in defense sector, we have the problem of the frugality. We need to do artificial intelligence without having too much data or data enough to do that. Okay, we need to manage this situation. In this sense, one of the key elements that also is related with the part of the ciphering information with maybe post-quantum algorithms, and the robustness. It means that we need to be prepared that our artificial intelligence algorithms are good enough that if they have a small number of bad data because someone intentionally or someone without any bad intention put some anomalous data in our system, it starts to work in a bad way. Okay. And this is critical because it's related to what I told you before, the resiliency. Okay, our system start to have bad information. This needs to be discarded and continue operating in a very good way. Other element that is critical right now is the explainability. Once we have detected possible threat, the idea is to share with the operator possible actions to be taken, but we need to explain why the artificial intelligence is recommending something, okay? So that the artificial intelligence has to explain itself. Okay, I have seen this, and this. After that, I seen that I guess that the problem could be this, and this. And my suggested action are this, and this. Why? For two reasons. First one, we are going to check if the artificial intelligence algorithms are working properly. And second, if not, we have a problem. And secondly, the operator will understand why something is recommended so that he or she can evaluate the possible actions to be taken in a best way, okay? And it's related with the next topic, which is the human in the loop. Almost always, not always, but almost always in this kind of systems, we need to put the human in the loop, which means that someone at the end of the day will be a person that will take the decision. We are not going to leave the artificial intelligence to make the final decision, usually, okay? There are some exceptions, maybe in the defense sector, and this is more specifically, this is very common in the European Union. Maybe outside the European Union is not so common. I'm not sure about that. Of course, in order to prepare the information systems to be tested, for instance, if we want to implement post-quantum cryptography algorithms to cipher our information for our critical infrastructure, we cannot do that directly on the real system, because if we have a problem, maybe in the ciphering process, for instance, we are going to stop the critical infrastructure. So it's not a good idea, I guess. So that the idea is we need to create some digital twins of the critical infrastructure with artificial intelligence systems in order to check what's going on when we are doing something before doing in the real system. And of course, as I commented to you in the part of the SMAUG project, the intelligent data fusion is critical in order to detect these possible problems as well, okay? So what is the core nucleus on this? Right now, in all the critical infrastructure, there's the point of view of cybersecurity and security systems. We have data scarcity, especially in defense systems. The robustness is critical. The explainability is a key enabler. And all of the systems that use artificial intelligence need to ensure the robustness of explainability. And very important and related specifically with the part of the post-quantum is that all the systems, we need to include the security by design, which means that we need to prepare all the systems, all the security features of our system from the scratch, from the very beginning of the design of the system. Because to add these kind of things later on is not a good idea. Of course, we need to use techniques with like SecDepot, which is the continuous development of security systems to detect, to improve the security, and zero trust mechanisms. So we are not going to trust in nobody until she or he is well authenticated in the systems. We can use techniques, as you know, maybe like the second factor authentication, the typical message you receive from your bank with a one use code of 6 digits every time you need to do a transfer, something like that, okay? So that, as you can see, this element, if any of these elements, the part of artificial intelligence or the part of the cyber, it's compromised, we can have very bad problems regarding, sorry, I need to move some elements of the Google Meet the tool. Okay, to work and to make that everything is working in a cyber resiliency way, to avoid that regardless we can have an intrusion in our system, we can continue working in a proper way. In the meantime, we are solving the problem, which is critical as well. Okay, so just to review, we need to analyze the cybersecurity and other part of artificial intelligence with the typical models and mechanisms. This is critical when we are considering a system with artificial intelligence that can have cyber attacks and cyber threats. Cyber threats is both cyber and physical attacks, okay? This is all the part regarding the cybersecurity when we are having artificial intelligence should be planning from the very beginning of the process, okay? We need to be sure that these systems I told you before can be attacked sometimes because the bad guys are doing something for that, or because someone is doing something without because they don't have the knowledge enough, or they make mistakes. This happens, okay? And the approach should be to analyze possible threat attacks using digital twins for test these possible attacks, okay, and for test how the post-quantum cryptography can help in this kind of systems, all right? So that taking into account the possible combination of cyber security and security in the system, we need to be clear the difference between the information technologies and operational technologies. And I will do in a nutshell, okay? In the operational technologies, OT or IoT sometimes, there is something physical that is moving. I mean, there is a pipe that is open or closed, something is moving, something physical is happening. In the information technologies, there is nothing physical moving. For instance, we can suffer in a phishing attack. Someone is supplanting the web page of our bank and they get our control, but nothing is moving or changing its position in the real world, okay? We need to be sure, because this is the way typically where we can differentiate the cyber domain with or the information domain with the physical domain, okay? Because depending on the domain we need to prepare different techniques combined, okay? So information technologies, interconnected system, hardware, software, your email, and so on. They are business support, and they have rapid obsolescence. Very likely you are suffering continuous improvement in your Windows and updates and so on. Operating technologies. One important thing here is very likely once, for instance, if you are in an energy plant, very likely the OT systems are there for the last 15, 20 years. It's impossible that a software system is continue working for that. Maybe with a small updates, sometimes they are continue below the system, but these updates are very common, especially if we take into account the updates we need in the systems, in the software system for the security. Very likely in your iOS or in your Android, you have every day some updates in your tools, and I'm quite sure that most of them are related with security, okay? Every day. If you go to your App Store or Android store, you will see every day that you have some tools to be updated, and I'm quite sure without knowing that 50% or even more of the time is because of security reasons, okay? So, sorry because it is Spanish, but this is confidentiality, integrity, and this is the bit that is one different. Disponibilidad is availability. So, regarding in the IT systems, the confidentiality is a key element, okay? And integrity and availability are quite relevant, of course, but maybe a bit less. By the way, in the OT systems, maybe that the bad guys knowing what we are doing is not so critical, but the availability is critical, because if they modify our critical infrastructure and we cannot operate it, the problem starts. For instance, very simple examples. In the IT domain, if we don't have availability because our email is stopped for 1 hour, we can survive. If we go to an energy plant and there is no energy for 2 hours because there is no availability, there's another kind of problem. It could be critical, for instance, in a hospital, if they are operating people doing surgeries and these kind of things, you know? Also, if they change the information of something, okay, it's not a good idea, but we can look later on for backups and so on. If someone modifies the information in an OT system, making and changing the instructions to the real systems, they can move a pipe or whatever, and we can have very big problems and people could die at the end of the day. So that we need to bear this in mind. What are the key elements? And of course, in this sense, the part of the post-quantum cryptography will help in all. But of course, in the part of integrity is critical, okay? So, just to close the elements, I would like to everybody has in the same page in this session, what is a critical infrastructure, because we have commented about critical infrastructure several times, but we didn't explain what is a critical infrastructure. A critical infrastructure is one that is essential. It means that needs to be operating most of the time, always, more or less all the time. And we don't have any alternative if something happened there, okay? We don't have another energy plant that covers everything. We don't have any hospital. If they stops for instance, the main train station of Madrid or Athens, there is no alternative, okay? And then the panic starts. And a critical area is the area that can be affected by one or more critical infrastructure if something happened to them. Okay, so it's the places where we need to have in mind, for instance, the cyber resiliency part in order to help them just in case something happened there. Okay. So that is critical to protect these critical infrastructures. Why? And how, sorry, prepare the set of activities that we need to ensure the functionality, continuity, and integrity of this critical infrastructure to avoid and mitigate and neutralize the damage that can be caused by, can be created by a deliberate attack or maybe by mistake, okay? To ensure that everything is continue working as much as possible, aligned with the cyber resiliency as well. Just an example, as you can imagine, critical infrastructure in the European Union and I guess in the rest of the world are the one related with the public administration, government, water, food, energy, space, chemical, IT, ICT, and so on. Okay? So what we need to, how we are going to prepare the security? We need to ensure what we cannot do, and when this could be a problem of the post-quantum cryptography, and this is why we are working on that and checking how is the needed time to work to improve and to change the cryptography systems to post-quantum cryptography, that the information, especially in critical infrastructure, should be fast enough, because if we are putting too much security and the flows of information are very slow, we can have problems as well. So we need to ensure this, that the transfer of information is secure, fast, and reliable. Okay. We all the infrastructure systems should be applied and should be able to use all the state of the art at least in order to be prepared for possible updates. Okay. One important thing at the end of the day is sometimes, especially in the cyber domain, the main access or door to enter in the system are the employees. They need to be prepared, but not only then. When we have visitors to our critical infrastructure, could be a problem as well. Okay, people connecting to open Wi-Fi and so on. Okay, of course, it's not a secret that the number of cyber attacks have been increasing in the last year and will be there. Okay, more important thing is they are not only increasing in the number, but also in the impact they have. Okay, as you can imagine. Examples, one of them, as you remember, especially it was very critical in Spain, was the WannaCry. It was a phishing and ransomware attack in Spain that stops the work of the biggest company for the country for a few days. Okay, we have suffered data leaks, which is data leaks could be relevant with another thing that is related with one of the problems that the post-quantum cryptography trying to solve, which is the kind of attack that is called the harvest now, decrypt later. The idea is the bad guys are taking the information right now, and they cannot uncipher it because with the current asymmetric algorithms, they will need years and years to decrypt the information. The problem is that if they have in 4 years a quantum computer good enough, they can decipher this information, and they are storing this information in their laptops or hard disks or whatever for the needed time. So we cannot procrastinate. We cannot wait too much more. We need to protect the more relevant information as soon as possible using specifically when needed this kind of post-quantum cryptography algorithms until all of us has a quantum computer in our premises, okay, or critical infrastructure. So I will end with an example of both cyber and physics attack. Well, more than physics, nobody physically attacked nothing, but there was an IT and OT attack that took place in Ukraine that is called Black Energy. Maybe some of you knows it. At that moment in 2015, nobody knows where the attacks come from. I think that today nobody has any doubt about that. So just in a nutshell, this was a target attack on APT. APT means advanced persistent threat. So it means that people were preparing this attack at least 6 months. It's supposed that it took to play it was needed to prepare this this attack between 2 and 3 years, but we don't know. Okay, it affected the energy sector in Ukraine, which is a critical infrastructure, like for instance a maritime port. It was a synchronous attack in an area of Ukraine affecting 3 plants and 27 substations. The people that suffered an interruption of energy and power was around 250,000. Sorry for the last one, is in Spanish. It took, I guess you can understand it. It was at least in some areas, the areas with less time without energy, it was 6 hours. Okay. So how it was taken? There was a phishing. As I told you before, a phishing is an attack that someone is telling you that, okay, I am, for instance, I am your bank. Click here to put to receive an email. Click here to enter in your system of your bank, because if not, we are going to cancel your bank account and we get all your money. And you click in the link, the URL is similar, but not the same one that your bank, and the look and feel of the web page is the similar. And then you put your username and password, and then they get all your information. Okay. So it's important they use that, and once they use a macro of Office to execute the bad thing, well, to create a backdoor to enter in the system. After that, they do what is a lateral movement. That means that they moving from a system to another systems of these critical infrastructures. Very likely, maybe they were doing this lateral movement for more than 1 year, at least 6 months. As I told you before, it's expected that it was 6 months of preparation. I think that my personal opinion, and some expert I commented, very likely will be closer to 2 years. Okay. One thing that they do when they are inside with a specific development for the system, because at the end of the day, OT systems are very specific. The systems of every critical infrastructure is different from the other one, regardless they are at the same time in the same country. Maybe sometimes they are very different, but not the same one. They do the specific development for prepare for this critical infrastructure. This is why we know that it's an APT, Advanced Persistent Threat. Okay, and they create legal users in the system. I mean, they create new users that are fully legal in the system. Okay, then using the system, these users, they enter through a VPN, a virtual private network, and they start to get information using movements that are seems to be normal. This is critical because one of the key elements using artificial intelligence for cybersecurity, one of them was, you know what is an IDS and an IPS, intrusion detection system, and intrusion protection systems. They are analyzing all the flow of information, looking for weird or packages or data. But they do in a very good way, because there is nothing wrong that can raise any alert that someone is doing bad things inside the system, which is very, let's say, not good, amazing at the end of the day, in a bad way for sure. So they created with this VPN a new connector remote. Then the attack starts, and it's crazy. They expulse the illegal and official one operator for the system. Now they have the full control, and then they stop everything. Okay, in the same way like they are there. This is why it's affected in the OT part, because they affect all the systems. After that, they remove and delete all the data created in the systems to make impossible to do any kind of forensic analysis. After that, they disable any communication. It means that the operator, if they raise the phone to call the SOC or whatever, the landline as well is not working. Okay, as you can see here. And now everything needs to be restarted manually. So someone in this power energy, in the power plant, needs to go and push up the leverage and open the pipes manually, because they close everything in the OT part. Okay. So this is an example of how the use of artificial intelligence and the power of quantum cryptography can help in this kind of, to avoid this happen again in the future. I hope this is interesting for you. And now I guess that we can have some kind of questions, comment regarding this. I don't know, Akis, if there is any Lea user from PQ-REACT side. From SMAUG, we have Manos from the port, and Hidalgo was here from Spanish Customs. I don't know if someone from an end user want to say something about that.
I did not see any.
No. So maybe Manos, from the point of view that you are in you are one of the leaders of a port, which is a critical infrastructure. I would like to know what is your point of view regarding this presentation and the possible threats and the way that artificial intelligence and post-quantum cryptography can help you. If you have any comment, para calor. Manos, you are mute. If you are speaking, If not, we will move to Hidalgo, because I see you, Hidalgo, and you are not mute. Hidalgo, so what is your point of view as a coastal border guards regarding this part of the protection of critical infrastructure and so on? What do you think?
Okay, well, for Spanish custom, we think, like in other systems, and even in our personal phones or PCs or computers, as you said, Juanjo, the increase of the attack from malicious organization is increased day by day, and all the system we develop in this project or in other projects need to be protected to this attack, because if we do a excellent job on doing a project for the SMAUG be implanted in the future, will be implanted in the future, if can be destroyed by an attack, even for terrorists or for another country or even illicit organization, is a fault for us. Okay, thank you so much, Hidalgo. So you see that these kind of techniques are useful for you in the future to protect and so on, yeah? The border, in the borders of the European Union, yes? It's very interesting for us. Yes. Manos, I don't know if you are there. Manos, Paracalo?
I'm hearing you.
Okay, Manos, what do you think about the techniques regarding post-quantum and artificial intelligence for critical infrastructure protection, specifically, for instance, a port like the LFCNAS one? What do you think? Do you think this is interesting? Could be useful for you, no?
I think it would be more than interesting in order to cover all the requirements of the safety and security, because you can cover both of them in this case. It's not something that we have in our hands right now, and this development will be very critical for the port.
Yeah, I think so. Especially the flow of information need to be secure as well. I will let you know my personal point of view, because we were commenting about that several times. Right now I'm more focused in quantum techniques and artificial intelligence, but I have some background in the cybersecurity domain. Every time I go to a cybersecurity congress, okay, in the last 4 years, all the slots regarding artificial intelligence are full, but 5 years ago, nobody went there. Right now, what's going on is artificial intelligence slots are full. When I be there presenting post-quantum cryptography 1 year ago, 2 years ago in some cybersecurity congress, there is only few people there because they don't see the problem. But it seems that something is changing in the last year and a half, and the people start to realize about the possible problems they are going to have if they don't take care of these possible quantum techniques to be used to attack the systems, specifically in the part of the critical infrastructure protection as well, or in the bank systems at the end of the day. You know, when I explained to my mom what is about post-quantum, PQ-REACT, I told her, PQ-REACT is how to protect the system of your bank to avoid that someone with a quantum computer enter in your bank account and take all your money. And this is important. Then see the use, okay, of this. I don't know, Aki, if you want to add something.
No, I have, maybe I could maybe go into more detail regarding PQ-REACT and how we have been working on protecting a set of critical infrastructure, and then maybe just go straight up to the layers part and how we can adopt, and maybe then we can follow up from your part on layers, correct?
Okay.
Adoni, from time, we are okay, correct?
Absolutely, yes. We have any time we can present, we can talk, questions, and it would be very nice to discuss about these things.
Okay, so following up Juanro's great presentation, I think it gave a really nice overview on the cybersecurity aspects from different things, including post-quantum cryptography, but also, more, let's say, handy and what happens right now in the field and what risks are in the field. I will present a set of what we have done and what are the actual quantum risks and what they are following up, what is coming. The quantum risks are across critical infrastructure sectors. As also Juan had presented, energy is one of the key points and also one of the key targets of future cybersecurity threats, and also including quantum-related risks. So apart from smart meters, grids, SCADA, which use RSA and ECC for firmware signing and authentication, can be both broken by Sol's algorithm. An interesting also additional fact is that many of but also quite a lot of OT protocols, as of they are right now, they are still remain unsecured in that part, which of course it is also an existing risk, security risk, but this still remains, and this still remains as an open threat for quantum targets and quantum attack surfaces. In the telco sector, which may we talk about 5G, but also 6G future networks, they rely, as of it is right now, on TLS and IPsec with classical key exchange, and this can also lead as a key quantum attack, as an attack surface for quantum computers that can compromise edge security, but also network slicing capabilities in the backend infrastructure of telco operators. As you may presume, this is a key area and a quite open and critical area, as telecommunications and communications and connectivity is in our age a very important domain for all different industries and sectors. This also, as it was mentioned, financial services and also identity, from PKI, public infrastructure, to digital signatures, to also the new identities and the new IDAS qualified certificates that are slowly being introduced in the European Union and will be working on. As of it is right now, they are also open to quantum risk and the quantum threat, which can, for example, lead to false signatures that would undermine transactions and legal identity. So as Juan presented some of the attacks, cyber attacks and fraud attacks that have happened in recent years, similar strategies, but using a quantum computer can be also applied if we don't act fast or act accordingly to the migration guidelines that we have been working on. And last but not least, we can see that also this applies to connected vehicles, to air traffic management, to hospital, Internet of Things, IoT, that all depend on secure communications and must remain confidential for decades. This also applies to, as we mentioned earlier, the harvest now but decrypt later, which means that hackers can even now start collecting data that is encrypted, confidential data that is encrypted, health data that is already encrypted using classical, but can decrypt it in the future once they have the available hardware to do so. The growing attack surface, as we mentioned, which can be energy grids, telecoms, transport, digital systems, are also vulnerable to sophisticated cyber attacks. The key threat vectors can vary from ransomware targeting OT and SCADA systems to state-sponsored APTs against energy and telco, and also, as we mentioned, harvest now and decrypt later data exfiltration. The EU response, apart from the NIS2 directive, mandates stronger cybersecurity for essential services, but still a PQC focused and targeted directive can be found in different documents, also in the Cybersecurity Resilience Act, but this also sets requirements for the connected products. In the case of PQ-REACT, we have identified the problem that smart meters have a very limited computing power, which makes quantum-safe encryption hard to deploy. So what we did, we tested 3 quantum-safe methods on real meter hardware to securely verify firmware updates. The key results, as we have identified, is that signing is in under 0.1 millisecond, can be imperceptible to users. We can compact signatures to fit bandwidth limited networks, and we have standardized 3-meter workflows validated for an overall picture. Regarding the security of 5G mobile networks, as mentioned before, 5G networks currently use encryption to protect data between towers and the core network. And today's encryption can be broken by future quantum computers, exposing communications at scale. So what did we do? We replaced and we created a lab-scale environment using full encryption in a full 5G testbed with quantum-safe alternatives, both for the network tunnels, the IPsec that work from the core network to the radio access network, and for secure web connections using TLS 1.3 based on LibQS libraries. The key results is that we had a near zero performance impact of around 0.1% in extra CPU usage for different protocols, which could relate to no slowdown for users regarding network speed and latency as changed, and also zero service interruption during the upgrade in the lab experiments that we did. And regarding, last but not least, a quantum-safe blockchain for network provisioning and 5G networks. These blockchain systems, as we all know, rely both on encryption, and encryption is a big part of the whole domain, that also quantum computers could break. You might also have stumbled upon different articles that quantum computers could break Bitcoin's encryption and so on and forth. But apart from the Bitcoin part, blockchain is currently used in many systems for securing, for trusting, for ledger, for auditing of different operations. And this also creates a risk for, apart from the ledger of Bitcoin on other operational ledgers, this also creates a risk. So what we did, we replaced signing algorithms inside the blockchain platform with quantum-safe alternatives to govern how, in our case, 5G network slices are created and managed. We managed to showcase that the quantum-safe signing that we did, apart from the existing cases that in today's standard method that we do, can be 33% faster, the quantum-safe signing that exists today. And the transaction throughput remained unchanged with no performance penalty. And we managed to do so in a full migration completed in under 1 second with zero downtime. Of course, the 1 second may seem a lot in the systems, but in general, ledger technologies and ledger are quite time-consuming as different nodes need to be synced and so on. From how and what we have validated is that we have validated a migration path, so real-world pilots and how PQC can be deployed on constrained IT devices, on networks, on distributed ledgers, not just in theory. We have developed this crypto agility framework to enable hybrid and classical PQC deployment and rapid algorithm swapping while vulnerabilities are found. And it is also essential for long-lived CI systems, and the benchmarking and validation tools where we have our self-developed context agility manager and also a quantum simulation Eclipse development that can allow critical infrastructure operators to test post-quantum algorithms for the specific hardware and performance constraints. And also, we have aligned with the general EU framework, the PQC roadmap, and also the NIST FIPS, the newly standardized, recently standardized, it was right now 1.5 years ago, 203, 204, and 204 standards that can help critical infrastructure operators to meet compliance and ahead of deadlines. So, how would this help, and why should be this of interest to law enforcement agencies? So, law enforcement agencies should and must act now, since quantum computers will, it is theoretically proven that they will break RSA, ECDSA, and other public key algorithms. LIAs rely on secure communications, evidence integrity, and cross-border operation. These are all remain at risk. Additionally, the hardware is now decrypted later. Adversaries are already collecting encrypted layer data wipes, wiretaps, surveillance, evidence archives today, and they tend to decrypt them once quantum capability matures. This may not be that much present now, but the risk exists, and it is a quite open and critical risk. Also, digital evidence is at risk. The chain of custody logs, forensic images, court submissions rely on digital signatures. EIDAS qualified exemptions, for example. Quantum attacks can forge this and undermine, for example, prosecutions, or someone could impersonate one law enforcement agent, which could open a wide open variety of different threats, and also forgery and different threats and attacks that attackers can have. So, how post-quantum and also SMAUG in the sense of cross-border data exchange would help. Apart from the ready-to-use migration path and cryptographic agilities that law enforcement agencies can be informed and help pass the word for transition on their IT systems, databases, communication platforms, evidence management, can help from classical to quantum cryptography without operational disruption, to validate the platforms also in layer relevant domains, apart from IoT security, smart grid, secure communications, and also quantum resistant ledgers these are mainly involved in tamper-proof evidence chains. It can also help layers test benchmark PQC in their specific constraints before deploying them and ensure the performance is maintained. So if we could pin up how and what would be an ideal roadmap for a law enforcement agency for PQC adoption, it would be, first of all, that as of now, to inventory all the cryptographic assets, what VPNs, what public infrastructure, what evidence systems, what encrypted databases they use, to identify the quantum vulnerable algorithm their services use, and then start slowly but slowly adopting PQC signatures that are currently available and have a lot of support both from open source but also from commercial solutions for chain of custody logs and log-lived evidence archives to prevent future forgery. Then the short term, as of that has already been started to be done, is to deploy hybrid encryption schemes on operational channels, then use benchmarking tools to validate that the PQC performance on layer hardware can become before full rollout. And then, as a final last mile, it would be to complete the full chain of the migration path to quantum safe encryption across all layer systems and align fully across the EU NIS2 directive and also the EIDAS quantum safe electronic signature requirements. So, with this, I would like also to open the floor in case Elea would like to pose some questions or is interested to discuss, and also to not specifically to Leas, but also to other participants that they may have some questions regarding what presents.
Is there any question from the participants? Or any additions in general? Any requirements or... Aki, it seems not. I have nothing written in the chat. I don't know if Alberto, did you answer that question, the last one? On identity domain, are you considering risks related to the cryptographic foundations of the European digital identity wall beyond forged signatures? At the bottom right, there is a chat.
Yes. Again, we have not yet been fully targeted on digital wallets, to be honest with PQ-REACT, but this also law enforcement agencies and in general relevant stakeholders should also take into account this one, because as we have seen from a brief overview, digital wallets and the design as it is right now do not take into full account quantum threats.
Okay. Perfect. Any other question? You can write the question, or you can either raise your hand or open your microphone. Okay. I don't see any question. So thanks to everybody for participating, and to you, Juanro and Akis, for the very detailed and interesting presentations between these two EU projects. And thanks to all for participating. The